anyway, this is more of a critique or a summary or sort of an analysis from Jonathan Pageau about Pluribus. I don't know if you watched the show. I only watched a couple episodes. I liked the idea of it, and then it just went to crap. I don't know why. It's just infected with, I don't know, modern trends and things like this. It's very hard for me to watch a show.
Pluribus has made a lot of waves recently. It's a very powerful production, amazingly written, with a premise that is quite relevant to the world in which we're living. And examining its symbolic structure will help us understand some of the problems of the modern world. The story begins as a reverse zombie story. It takes all the tropes of the zombie narrative, symbolism that I and others have analyzed over the years, and turns it on its head. We'll see what that looks
It's all about lesbians.
like.
It's all about lesbians.
The I in the Pluribus logo is replaced by a 1. Like most symbolic structures, the show is not an allegory, for example, about AI or totalitarianism. It's not a superficial comment about resisting tyranny or sacrificing oneself for the good of the one. It is an exploration of a deep ontological problem, that is the relationship of the one and the many, of the inside and the outside, the same and the different. For that reason, its imagery can be applied as much to the COVID pandemic and its response as to AI or to the resurgence of the enchanted or post-liberal world in which questions of participation, of how we bind together or how we differ from each other, have all become extremely salient to all of us. The basic premise of the show is that humans receive a communication from outer space, which turns out to be the code for a virus. This code is interpreted by our human authorities, and the virus is created in a controlled lab trying to figure out what the purpose of this communication might be. Rats are infected, and like
Please don't show a gun.
in zombie movies, for example,
Please don't
like
show
in
a
28
gun.
days later, one animal escapes
Please don't
and
show
bites
a
a
gun.
human. This human then goes out to deliberately infect others until the entire world is overturned by the virus. Now, unlike a zombie story, the virus does not cause a kind of living death, does not cause the reduction of the people it infects to mindless and isolated monsters that eat human brains as they cease to exist in communities. It's the very opposite which happens. All those infected are united with each other perfectly,
Infected with communism.
sharing a kind of hive mind. The virus is spread at the outset by a gesture of contrived affection.
Jimbob, I think you're already on it, but if he shows scenes from the show, there might be a pew-pew. Yeah, I think I watched it really briefly, but I don't remember seeing one. Let me kind of go through here. Let me just see. I think we might be good on this one. It's actually pretty good for people who have videos that would like the videos to be reviewed live in live streams. Don't include pew-pews. You know what I'm saying? I think, okay, we're good. Thanks.
Forcefully kissing people, not devouring them. And in this simple image, you might find the entire moral dilemma of Pluribus. So the people who are infected experience peace, bliss. They become incapable of killing, of harming, or of even defending themselves.
I want to make a commie zombie. Zombie commies. How great would that be? Probably someone already worked on that. There is a parallel there because in Pluribus, they're all working together. Now, what is a hive mind in every sense of the word when you look at bees and things like this? The reason they're in a hive mind, where the only way it has any meaning, I should say, is that it's united in its tasks. It's working. Ants working. Bees working. Right? Well, the hive mind in Pluribus is kind of interesting because, you know, you could say, more generally speaking, oh, it's like communism. It's like a bunch of commie zombies. But also the real maybe infection is utility, pure utility. So in the show, they all work together and they're just kind of managing stuff. And it really does kind of reflect, in the West especially, the consumerist world, the utility world, the materialistic world. We're already in sort of a zombie state hive mind where we're just moving stuff around, right? It's like a counterfeit sacramental liturgical space. And without Christianity, without Orthodox Christianity, the format for moving stuff around is meaningless. It's toward nothing. It's not toward anything. It's not in service or in alignment with God. It's not participating with the immaterial. It's participating with pure matter. And Pluribus kind of shows that. They're like, oh, they're trying to get this last couple of people who weren't infected. They're all trying to work to get them a part of the hive mind because then they're completely unified. A type of singularity, if you will. An equilibrium of all minds. No more dissent. No more fighting. Almost a perversion of communion, like an eschatological view, where it's like skipping ahead and saying, well, this is like heaven, basically. We're all united with the one mind. The one mind, in this case, would be just like this egregore God, the combination of all minds, the AI, King Solomon, but in AI form. Leave a like for me. Thank you. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a super chat. Appreciate y'all.
In fact, they are unable to lie or to do anything immoral. Everything they do is for the unity of the hive mind. They are perfectly one. And not only one, but that unity is completely transparent. In the normal world, members of a group can usually become one while maintaining separation between each other. But in the Pluribus hive mind, like Star Trek's Borg, each individual person is simply a kind of portal of the one mind.
Now, I want to add to this, people like Marilyn, Ryan Remembers, Aaron Abkey. There's a version of this view that takes the Christian paradigm, perverts it, and says, well, there's one consciousness. We're all Christ, basically. We're all one thing. We all submit ourselves to one greater thing, which has a half-truth to it in Christianity, but it's not the full truth. And so you become one big mind, and that's like the ultimate. That's the ultimate, is to become one, and you're dissolved in the many as one thing. And, you can't, your deficiencies don't matter anymore.
With each individual having perfect access to the hive mind, and the hive mind experiencing and acting through each person simultaneously. Unlike the Borg, though, this transparency is complete, and they're incapable of hiding anything, even to those who are not part of the hive mind and could be hostile to them. Just like zombies, the hive mind does engage in cannibalism.
We're all Lakewood.
But this cannibalism is due to the fact that they cannot harm anything, not even pick an apple. So they're...
You see what I'm saying? There's all this embedded too. You can't hunt, you don't hurt, you don't pick an apple, you don't destroy anything. So this infection is good. It's a virtuous infection of the mind. The infection of utility and veganism, earth, worship of the earth itself, I guess. The earth becomes the goddess that you don't touch, and each of us are an extremity of God. And so they pervert that as well. There's no fallenness to this world. It's just that it's perfect. We just forgot. And this Pluribus infection is giving a great reset to our mind, where we're now aware of the truth of nature. Meanwhile, all the animals are still eating each other. It's like,
They're forced to process and eat the people who died of accidents in the original infection. We discover a very powerful aspect of the symbolism of cannibalism, one which is not as prominent in other zombie movies, which is the question of self-reference. Cannibalism is a kind of closed-off system, like one could imagine from, a place where there were generations of incest, or for example, in the non-stop slop of Hollywood franchises with sequels and reboots that lead to the downward spiral of this system as it devours and digests only itself. This, of course, has great application to the problem of AI and unifying all knowledge and information under AI intelligences.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, it will no longer have an outside to refresh it, and therefore will increasingly eat itself. Hence, AI agents producing the content on which future AI will train themselves, and they're, in that way, entering...
Yes, I'm actually surprised he didn't mention this as a pretty prolific Orthodox iconographer, artist, author, commentator. Now, I didn't watch the whole thing. He might throw it in there. I didn't. I kind of skimmed through this. But yeah, that's exactly right, Orthodox Pilgrim. That you replace the hive mind with the correct phronema, the mind of Christ, then you get both the many. You don't completely erase the individual, but you connect the individuals in a unified way. So what's the ultimate unifier? Christ is the ultimate unifier.
Bring into a devolving spiral.
Well, I should say, what is usually the question from the world? What is the universe? What is the ultimate unifier? Similar to Pontius Pilate asking, "What is truth?" It's not a what question; it's who. Now, pluribus is a what. It's not a who. Notice that the depersoning of in this context, the depersoning, the making it an it, the infection itself, the virus, that's an it. There's no personhood. There's no intent. It's a technology at best of another being with intention. It can't itself have its own intention. Thoughts on True Detective Season 1? I watched that a long time ago. Dark stuff.
Of self-reference. With the creation of a totalizing
It's good, well made.
hive mind, as in every process of
Sam Shamoon, Sam Shamoon's posted my, Sam Shamoon's posted Lakewood. Did you guys see that? That's funny.
unification, there will always...
You know what I'm saying? I just want you to know, there's people out there on that internet who hate us. They hate us. They want our churches shut down. They want us to abide by and submit to man-made institutions. And it's on us to say, nah. It's on us to fight this good fight and keep these walls up and keep these lasers moving. Do any other churches have slow motion replays on their baptism? No! We are the Lakewood Ministries is the only church in our district that has slow motion replay baptisms. And I'm not going to let any of these demons stop that. Whether you're Jimbob, whoever that is, or Jay Dyer, or Sam Shamoon, or the rest of you lunatics, you're not going to stop me. You're not going to stop us. You're not going to stop Nancy from her morning nibbling. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Always appreciate a transmission from Pastor Mike over at Lakewood.
Always be a remainder. The thing that for some reason does not fit cannot be united to the whole. Coherence cannot also be complete at the same time. This is inevitable in all processes of unification. There is an irrational aspect of reality, a gap, which accounts for difference in the world. This remainder is very mysterious, but it is an essential part of how the world unfolds as a dance between the one and the many.
Mm-hmm.
The resistance to pure unity appears as the outlier, the other, the stranger. And so in the process of infection and unification, there are just a few people who are immune to the virus and therefore remain outside of the hive mind. Because in this case, the unity is so radical, so complete, it makes the remainder that much more of a problem, a thorn in the system. But a thorn that the hive mind will do all it can to assimilate and arrive at pure unity. The main character of the series is Carol, one of those remainders, one of those outliers of the hive mind unity. The series is brilliant.
Hold on.
In 2020, we had such an example of the hive mind through the roof.
Yes.
Mask wearing, arbitrary social distancing,
That's right.
reporting neighbors, allowing family members to die alone, closing churches. People became insane. What a sickening bunch of zombies the world
Yeah.
became, which ate its own. People gave in to the experiment and failed. Now they know they can scare the masses, and a new hive created with the next global crisis they create. Josiah.
Yes, Josiah, I agree. Thank you for the super chat. What's so wild and layered about Corona, looking back, is that the virus was a mental thing, so that the people who weren't scared of it were seen as the illness. The people who didn't get the jibby jabs were seen as the illness, and the true zombie apocalypse was the people who claimed the illness existed. And so the real sickness was like this mental state, this collective mental state. It was crazy. It was horrifying to see. Like, I think I almost had a type of a meltdown mentally. Like, I put all my efforts into comics and commentary at that time. But when I was looking out, I thought, wow, this is really what it's like to be in a Black Mirror episode. Like, people are actually going insane and they're forming a collective where they're not actually thinking. They're not actually thinking rationally, but they're still operating completely efficiently. It's freaky. It really did freak me out. Like, it was, to watch what people did collectively was scarier than any sickness that you could ever show me on the internet.
And how it upends and recasts usual narrative relationships. Like in most popular World War II narratives, the individual, the rebel, the underdog is represented as a hero who has to defeat, to upend, to bring a kind of revolution against the excessive tyrannical unity of the system.
Tom Hanks predicted Corona and Larry Crown. There was a lot of weird things about Corona. I kind of went through my truther phase then. I don't usually chase this stuff much, but I remember watching a review on Entangled, which was like a Rapunzel remake. And when you look at that story, it was just very interesting. Like, she's quarantined. There was Corona references. There was a couple of other things in there that was a very strange.
Against the oppressive normative identity or the dominant ethic. Think of Star Wars or The Matrix. Think of V for Vendetta, 1984, or Footloose even. In Pluribus, the hive mind...
Yeah, Footloose. Thanks a lot, Kevin Bacon. Thanks a lot, dude.
...does not present itself as Carol's enemy. it loves Carol. It does not present itself as Carol's domination, but rather her servant. In fact, it does everything to please her, to provide her with her every whim,
See, that's the world, and that's AI right there. Like, now it gets into the world serving your wants and desires. AI, the collective AI, Claude or Claudette or Claudia, as Richard Dawkins would say. It is the ultimate glazer. Glazer AI.
every desire, her every fantasy. Of course, its radical care is not what we usually mean by love, as the balance of the one and the many. The hive mind's love has the only ultimate goal to make Carol part of the hive mind, for the good of Carol, you see. It is in this way that the story hints back at how it is an inversion of a zombie story, and we realize that the hive mind wants to consume Carol, not for its own sake like the zombie, but in its own mind, it is for the sake of Carol.
Yeah, it's better. And this is also a half truth, right? Us submitting to Christ's church, we're not eliminating ourselves as a person. We don't eliminate our idiosyncrasies and our talents and our will. We align and graft ourselves into something. But we don't disappear, right? There's still work. Like, we still work it out in our life. We're always working it out. But this is itself is a type of inversion of that. So here's the real trick that I see played in media, entertainment, journalism, academia, and movies and whatnot, is it takes something that's true about Christianity, it repurposes it and presents it as a thing that then you have the impulse to reject wholesale. But really, you shouldn't reject things wholesale. There's certain things you reject wholesale, of course, but a lot of times things are presented in half-truths, and it tricks you into rejecting something wholesale. For instance, in the political sphere, left-right dialectics, Ben Shapiro basically making his entire career saying, well, the left takes a government and applies their ethical views and then all of their dogmas through government. We don't do that. And everyone's like, yeah, that's why they're bad and we're good. And then years later, you realize that the destruction of the infrastructure and the ethical fabric of the United States is completely withered away because people were convinced that you're not supposed to apply force, right? That's a no-no. You're not supposed to, deploy your ethical views through the government. Liberals do that. We don't do that. It's a trick.
For Nancy's donut fund and get the good kind.
Thank you.
Nancy deserves nothing but the best.
Oh, Nancy. Pray for Nancy.
The hive mind does not need Carol, but because it wants the best for Carol, all of its indulgence of Carol's desires is ultimately to fuse her with the hive mind. Mm. Apart from being immune from the virus, Carol is naturally someone who
don't kiss me, I hate Asians.
Cannot completely find her place in the rational unity of the world. Her resistance to the unification process appears in her very personality. She's someone who does not live even in accordance to her own principles.
Yeah, good point. Authority is probably, that's really underneath it all, isn't it? It's like we don't apply to authority. We don't use authority. That's authoritarian. We don't actually do that.
Having cynically written best-selling fiction she does not believe in.
Another good point here, the noose, another reference perhaps underneath it, even without the writers knowing the distinction. It's there.
She's a lesbian and therefore does not participate in the coherence and continuation of our world through reproduction and families. In this way, opposed to the sterile excess of the unity of the hive mind, she is herself an expression of sterility, but sterility as exclusion from the system of perpetuation of identity. She stands in counterpoint to coherent identity. She's an alcoholic, expressing that lack of coherence in habits of self-destruction. Ultimately, she's in general an anti-social and ornery person.
Is she anti-Semitic too, or?
Making her also an image of the outlier in both positive and negative ways. Her independent attitude and spirit make her incapable of fully dedicating herself to the people and opportunities in her life. But it's also what makes her capable and willing to resist this abuse of unity, which appears in the form of the hive mind. Because of the way she cynically uses her writing skill to become rich and famous, with a romance story she does not believe in and would not want to participate in, with fans she has contempt for, she is also something of a parasite on the natural order. This will become important in understanding some of the story's developments as the hive mind takes over. The parasitic nature of the outliers, for example, being a freeloader.
He's reviewing a show called Pluribus. It's about a sort of a collective hive mind infection that takes place. I see a Batman figurine in the background. I do see that.
On a system.
Pageau spitting bars. That's right. It's my boy.
Will become more apparent in not just her, but in all the others who are immune to the virus. Some of the outliers maintain a desire to be independent from the...
One of the key elements of this show is that the main character licks sniz.
hive mind while continuing to benefit from their systems and their relentless work, without ever genuinely contributing to that unity. This is a stark example of something that our world is constantly dealing with. When we imagine ourselves simply as beneficiaries of government social programs without contributing, as people with rights without considering our responsibilities, we are living out small examples of the problem Carol deals with when she...
Imagine someone like Pageau did a serious review of like that, but he used those terms. And this particular attribute of the main character is going to come up later. Really important. It's a really important thing that comes up later. The fact that she is a beaver binger.
Insists her grocery store stays open and completely stocked just for her comfort, commandeering vast amounts of the hive mind's energy and food for the maintaining of her small individual world. We often see the obscenely wealthy in that same light, especially those who have dynastic wealth. We often see them as individuals separated from the normal system, vampires profiting from the world
Elon Musk,
without contributing to it. One is reminded of some of the comments in Epstein's emails, where he says that he and his ilk are there to be outside the system and profit from the system, leaving work and effort to the rabble. In the series, some of the other immune characters will take up the different extremes of the outliers, and the character of Kumbe Diabate manifests this parasitic tendency the most starkly. He is demanding everything from the hive mind. No whim, no desire is off limits. He flies Air Force One, he wears championship rings, he's surrounded by a harem that can't say no.
I mean, let's face it, he's a Muslim. He's got the Muslim mindset. That's the idea of what it means to win spiritually. He represents Islam, basically.
Servants who cannot refuse him no matter what he asks. On the other extreme of the outliers, we find the character of Menusos, who refuses all interaction with the hive mind, does not want to speak to them, does not want to receive fruit.
Hold on, Vagina has something to say.
I've been watching your stream since you started streaming on Instagram. Your Karanka commentary at that time helped dissuade my hysteria during that era, and
Good.
although my family did not agree with me at the time, they are finally coming to realize just how insane that era truly was.
Yeah.
Also, 6 years later, I'm now considering attending a divine liturgy
Beautiful.
and possibly pursuing orthodoxy, as I am starting to realize that some in the prot church I attend, even senior members, are performative and have no idea what they're doing. I proved this when I pressed my prot brother on the grounding mechanics for the church we attend, of
Yep.
which he outright admitted that everyone is just doing their own thing and praying it's correct.
Yes.
Thanks for all you do. God
welcome.
bless you.
God bless you. And please make your way to liturgy and keep us posted. Thank you for the super chat. Great to hear that. That's just amazing to hear. Yeah, keep going. In order for you to submit to Christ and his church, there has to be a you that submits. Yeah, the will of the you, the person. Christianity entails the individual. Yes, thank you so much for that. That's exactly correct. Whereas this is a little bit of an inversion of that, right? This is an inversion because it removes you. It violates the free will of the you. It turns you into a mechanism. Turns you into an it. This is the great it that's being built. And honestly, this is where transhumanism leads to. Transhumanism, they always present it like there's a you, and then you transcend the limitations of your body, which is disconnected from you. So there's like this dualist thing. Whereas it's kind of creating death. Like, in a weird way, transhumanism is a cult of death and a forced resurrected body in the here now. And the split of the spirit from the body that we hold in Christianity with a resurrected body is forced. Just like the Kufi rabbinical and the dispensationalists and all those people trying to usher in the Messiah. It's a forced system where they force the death of the separation of you. They would call it just your consciousness, not your spirit. The separation, they force the separation of your consciousness from your current body. So they want like a heaven on earth. And a lot of them, just like because they're ignorant, they don't realize all they're doing is borrowing and perverting, inverting, subverting the Christian paradigm every single time. That's what makes Christianity so unique. Every other view, and there aren't many, every single other view and practice, you can find how it's borrowing and taking from the through line of Christianity.
Fruit from them, and for that reason is starving himself until he finally finds the courage to reach out to Carol. He's an outlier.
Thanks, Carol.
Who wants nothing to do with the system.
I feel like
for
Carol,
that reason, he might be dangerous
I feel like Carol could be another one of Pastor Mike's wives.
to the very
No, his sister. It's his sister. That's a good one. Pastor Mike has a sister, Carol, who has a competing church, and they don't get along.
very existence of the hive mind.
How goes the science denial? I bet you couldn't even tell me what science is, Adam. I would completely wreck you in science.
As he attempts to collapse the unity of the group. Even when he exchanges and ultimately meets Carol, we experience the challenges of separation and difference as each of them mistrusts the other to some degree. They struggle to communicate with each other using a phone translator and then immediately have a conflict as to how to treat the hive mind and those inside. You see, outliers of any form of unity have nothing in common except for the fact that they are outliers. No unity except being resistance to the main identity, which is why coalitions formed only as resistance or revolutionary, whether that is the LGBT coalition or the MAGA coalition, will immediately fragment once it is capable of overthrowing or replacing the order it is resisting. That's why the post-World War II pop movie always ends with the Rebel Alliance destroying the Death Star, the Revolutionary Army defeating the evil tyrant. But it never shows the inner squabbles that will devour that alliance once the Axis has been defeated. And no group without its own internal coherence can ever survive unless it has a clear enemy.
Enjoy denying reality. Do you know reality is metaphysics, not science? You're already exposed how dumb you are.
In the Manussos character, we come to understand that the hive mind
Science denier. He literally just equated science and reality itself. That's how ignorant these people are.
is like an infinite yes, and the outlier in Manussos is like an infinite no. The only way the hive mind is willing to enact their will on the others is to integrate them into the hive mind. And we ultimately realize that most of their energy and effort is put into building a giant transmitter that would send the message out into the universe so to spread this unity to other possible life forms out there.
Ayn Rand, yeah, that's true. What a disaster she was. I would have kicked her. I would have sent her right back on her little dinghy boat back to Russia. What an infection that woman was. Honestly, she should have kept her name so people knew better. Rosenbaum doesn't have the same ring to it, right? The Rosenbaum Institute? I don't think so.
The series presents the stakes of the drama very powerfully in a way that makes it impossible to completely align with the outliers because they cannot exist without the unity of the system, or completely align with the hive mind because with their excess of unity and incapacity to act on others.
And by the way, if Ayn Rand was here today and watched this, she'd have a visceral negative reaction to the idea of a group of people coming together, even willingly, as a collective.
They are heading towards their own extinction. The hive mind exemplifies what...
Your dad worships that chick? That's terrible. Pray for your dad. Pray for your dad. What's his name? Rod? Contrarian. Everyone pray for Contrarian's dad, Rod.
What the mathematician Nassim Taleb discusses in his book.
There are no children in our... Yeah, she's cold. She's just gross. She should have been kicked out of society, but they propped her up. Donahue's like, oh, we should put this homely beast on the stage to further sell individualism to women. Yeah.
Anti-fragile, which is that excess of order, excess of unity, excess of interconnected relationships leads to fragile systems with very little resilience. A good dose of chaos, of excess, of opposition, and of difference is absolutely necessary for any coherent system to maintain its own health.
By the way, people have adopted that at the mass scale. People who are systems theorists who advise agencies, who advise the military, who advise all sorts of people who we might not even know. There is a cult of people who believe and want to practice, from an evolutionary view especially, this idea of necessary crisis that, like the way they think about vaccines or something like that, where you prod the body into a response, they think what's true of the part must be true of the whole. And they have these philosophies. There are people with these philosophies that they think if you introduce a critical, what would you call it? An invasion of sorts, right? An imposter. If you introduce it to the grand body, humanity, then the grand body, humanity, will act very similar or identical to the singular body. And again, notice how this thread of the one and the many, where you make assumptions about the person or the singular, and you think what affects the singular must equally, in the same exact way, affect the whole. Well, this is the problem with evolution too, right? This is problems everywhere. The assumptions are everywhere. Evolution holds that if you see any changes in the body, the singular body, then it must be the case that you would see them at the whole category level, that the category itself would change. That doesn't follow, actually. That's a non sequitur. They think if you introduce something into our bodies and our bodies react in a negative way, in a response way that handles the invader and does away with it, they go, well, that must be true of the whole. And they're like, what could we do to advance civilization? Well, let's introduce things that offset the equilibrium. a type of forced evolution, if you will.
Both capable of maintaining its unity while capable of adapting, changing, and absorbing trauma to the system. In the hive mind, any trauma experienced by any node in the system leads all the other people in the hive mind to experience that trauma.
Yeah, and this is where it got pretty gay for me. Honestly. It was like basically like, oh, and we also don't like any conflict at all, or else we literally fall apart. It reminds me of the entire trans movement. You tell them that they can't be a boy or they can't be a girl, and they literally die in front of you. They're like, I can't. You're being mean. They pass out. Their nose starts bleeding. It's like, this is where it doesn't make sense. Like, you have some higher level intelligence that comes in the form of a virus that can take over humanity, remove their individuality, and force a collective hive mind organism, right? It's that complex, but they literally break if you yell at them. This is total. I mean, this is such freakatry. I mean, this is where the women writers really start saying their ideas around the table, right? Lakewood definitely has a photo kiosk where you see at the end of Splash Mountain to buy your baptismal photos. That's the funniest idea. Slow motion replay baptism with the roller coaster photo, the finishes is just so good. I love it. So many skits abound.
Causing millions of deaths every time. Behind all of this is the question of why this virus was spread to them. This is a very interesting aspect of the puzzle. That is, their unity is born from alien intelligence. Strangely enough, their inner coherence, their unity, comes from the outside. This reframes the usual tropes of fiction. That is, we're used to thinking of the alien attack provoking unity in the Earth's defense of that attack. We remember the famous Watchmen example where Alan Moore tells the story of a fake alien attack on the Earth in order to force the Earth to unify.
Yeah, and this has been around for a while. I don't know how old that is. What is that? That looks like a pretty old one. Who is it, Nixon? I mean, sci-fi has always influenced culture. Even NASA itself is the embodiment of this trope. Oh, there's no borders. Do away with borders. Oh, from space, everyone's one thing. Look, you look down there from space, and look at me. I'm in the cupola with look. Who is it? Don Pettit.
Well, we could go back to space in a nanosecond, but we lost the technology. One thing I know, when I'm up there in the cupola with a Chinese person or some Russian or someone else, some Mongolian midget, the one thing I know is true is that the borders go away.
And it's like, you don't even need the alien for this. Have you guys ever read Lem's... his master's voice? You don't need the alien. You don't actually need the invasion. That's why this whole alien invasion psyop thing that everyone's talking about is unnecessary. You don't need the pictures of the aliens. You don't need footage that's compelling. You don't need any of that. All you need is an authority to convince you that it has access to the thing, and it's going to be translating its will to you. That's all you need. Corona was that. The Fauci and company were the translators of reality. They got to tell you with the media what the reality was. You didn't have to see it. It didn't need to match your reality. You go outside, you didn't see people falling over. There was nothing in our reality that said what they were saying was the reality, and yet people were like, yeah, but they're saying it. They know something I don't.
In Pluribus, the alien attack on the Earth is the excess of unification. A unification so fragile that any trauma experienced by one member of the hive mind will spread to everyone. We're used to thinking that foreign enemies want to divide and conquer, sow dissension among their opponents, so to divide their energies and make it easier to rule them. Here we have a possible example of unify and conquer, where the unity of the world being invaded is so complete, any alien invasion would make all humans their immediate slaves for their lack of a capacity to resist the outside. As corporations buy smaller, diverse companies, there is a messiness to that process, a messiness that disappears when a giant company like Disney buys another giant company like 20th Century Fox, which itself already owns myriads of small companies, so that all of those small elements are taken over in a single swoop. For example, if someone wanted to take over the Catholic Church with the Pope as the supreme pontiff, it might be that getting your Pope in place would be enough to do that. But if someone tried to take over Protestantism, for example, we would not even know what that means. Exactly, as the never-ending fragmentation of Protestantism makes it impossible to take over.
Yeah, interesting enough. There's no threat to it, right? Now that has two flip sides to it, right? This is really fascinating because like if you're, I'm glad he actually moved over to this because what he's pointing to is Protestantism is pure nominalism because there is no collective, unified, normative authority of a whole body. You can't point to it. It's a mind church. Interestingly enough, Pluribus is a type of Pluribus is more united than Protestantism. And it's its own mind church, right? But if you look at the nominalism of Protestantism, in one way, it can't be. There's no threat against it because there is no it. There's no threat because there is no it. Well, from an Orthodox view, there are threats to orthodoxy. There's never a true threat ultimately to the church because it can't be ultimately taken over by Satan. But it can have sicknesses, so it's vulnerable. But there's an it that it can have sicknesses. There's an it to it. There's something positive to it. Now, maybe there are people who are non-denominational who, without even thinking about it, somehow it appeals to them to be in a non-existent system that can't be taken over. How can you take it over? There's nothing to take over. It's like a ship without a helm. There is no helm. There's no direction of the ship. There's no shape of the ship. There's no helm of the ship. There's no captain of the ship. There's no map of the water. I could see how someone could find that appealing if they were conscious of it. I don't even think Protestants are generally conscious of this, but that is such a wild insight from Pageau here. There's nothing you can take over.
The way to rule over a kind of Protestant.
The church can have a sickness? Yeah, in a sense. Yeah, heresies. Heresies would be a type of sickness. That's why you have to call them out. That's why you have to cut them out, right? You have to find them, isolate them, cut them out.
Protestantism might in fact be to encourage its division so that each new sect, in seeing itself as different from the other, has very little power to coherently resist that rule. In Pluribus, one of the fascinating aspects of the hive mind is that although it desperately wants to join the outliers to itself, the outliers remain their own.
Dean says the stream is proof that an official collab with you and Pageau will be stellar. You know what? I think I have to earn it. I think my path toward iconography, which will begin in July, will open me up to more adult conversations. Let's face it. Pageau, he's Canadian. He's well-spoken. He never cusses. He's kind of a goody two-shoes. And look at me. I'm lower class, let's face it. You know what I mean? I think I have to up my game. I might have to wear sleeves.
Only source.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's sleeve time.
Of refreshment, Because all of the knowledge, all the memories, all the memories of all of its members are complete in the hive mind. There's no way for the hive mind to be in a relationship and experience the wonder of seeing someone it does not know, the surprise of hearing a new story, of encountering a different opinion. The hive mind actually hopes that Carol will write her new book because whatever art Carol produces is the only novelty it can encounter, even if that book is a trashy fantasy romance novel. It is in this way also that if the hive mind completely joins the outliers to itself, it will be already dead for all intents and purposes, waiting for its own internal cannibalism to wind down while desperately trying to send the message out to other life forms in the universe to infect them with the same unity virus. As I mentioned earlier, the series is not an allegory or some contrived political comment, but what makes it so fascinating is that by the internal coherence of how it plays out the extreme aspects of unity and difference, the series becomes applicable to all sorts of phenomena we are dealing with. It makes us see around us a tamer, but none.
Alchemist, hey guys, I've been in work meetings all day. Just wanted to pop in and say Calvinism for life. I don't know, man. That's a really late time in human history to start life if Calvinism is for life.
Nonetheless, real pattern that is manifesting in our lives. For example, there are several aspects of the modern world which, by increasing efficiency and reach through technology, have reduced local differences and reduced the cohesion of smaller communities. Globalization, for example, has greatly reduced local resilience and erased the particularity of each people or place.
It's true.
All of the technification.
Think about that, the resilience of even culture itself, not just like resilience like economics, right? People think a lot in terms of economics, like, oh, you're without water, or you didn't figure out how to build a toilet, Vagine. There's tradition itself that gets infected by globalism, that you can't even be resilient in your tradition if it's completely saturated by many others. So there's still an argument for why unity, if you have unity, what are you unifying in if you're also to maintain distinctions? So this idea of distinctions without separation or distinctions with separation, it is something that we have to face. And this is a lot of what we're facing in the political atmosphere here when we're talking about nationalism, Christian nationalism, ethnic nationalism, identity, national identity, Christian identity. These identities, if you have them, they're protectable. Now, let's just go back. Protestantism, heterodoxy, doesn't have its own positive position. It's an anti-position. It's a privation position. So in a sense, like, there's no, it can't be threatened in the same sense that something positive with a positive existence can be threatened. It's like an orphanage. It's like threatening to take the parents away from the orphans at the orphanage. They never had parents. There's no parents to take away. There's nothing to take away. But globalization infecting different places and the necessity of places having their identity in the grand scheme of things, if you move that away, there's nothing to interact with, right? It's almost like removing our energies from us and reducing everything to a pure essence.
Jumbo, today I was thinking about something Christ said, and it made me think about Protestants. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. And I immediately thought, well, who's more scattered than anyone? Protestants, including the Catholics, when they decided to separate from the body of Christ, no longer gathered with him, and therefore scattered all over the world. Giovanni.
Thank you, Giovanni. Yes, yeah. The scattering, the disunity of individualism and separation. You know, there's nothing to protect. There's nothing to guard anymore. It's like, you ever think about it? Like, if any of you ever wanted to go to Japan, even the most liberal retard who's like, I want the world to be one citizenry, right? I don't want any border separations, or I don't want anything separated, right? We're all one thing. Even those people go, you know what? I really want to take a trip to Japan, honey. Why? Oh, I really want to get the authentic Japanese experience, the true heritage, the lived experience of the Japanese people. So not Somalians, right? I mean, yeah, no, exactly. Okay, so should we protect the way in the life of Japanese people? Yeah. Do you believe in open borders? Of course I do. It's like, how do you not see this problem?
The digital identities, the cashless payments, the interconnectedness.
Thank you, well, Emmanuel.
Have mostly been instituted to serve us, to make our lives more streamlined and efficient. This unity, for example, the global supply chain.
The scattering, did you guys know Vagine is writing a children's book? The scattering
has made us all dependent on that unity. And that means that any trauma on the system, let's say the mining of some straits in Iran, or a pestilence on crops in Eastern Europe, will have a real and immediate effect on the price of food of someone living in Wisconsin, for example. A trauma to the system is felt everywhere because of the interdependence of all of its nodes. The image in Pluribus can be seen as applying both to the extreme communism in the form of the hive mind, where the individual disappears completely, to a transparent equality and unity, but it also applies to capitalism in the form of the outliers, where the individuals have come to expect to be able to eat something like strawberries every day of the year, no matter where one lives. The images apply to AI as we gather all information.
By the way, capitalism and pure consumerism has the same problem. When we look at when we critique communism, like the disappearance of individuals, and now that you just have this like sort of like unified movement, almost like North Korea, where they all march together. This kind of thing where everyone disappears and they don't have property. Well, even in a capitalist society, the hive is like it sounds paradoxical, but like the hive mind is pure individualism. Isn't it interesting that if you take a purely individualistic mindset and system of operating,
Japan is a godless place. It deserves to die out, Emo.
No, it deserves to be baptized. Not die out. It deserves to be baptized. And it is. Orthodoxy is growing in Japan, by the way. Oh! Lord have mercy! Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Individualism, pure consumerism, has its own type of hive mind operation. You're on a conveyor belt. You're eating, WALL-E. Remember the movie WALL-E? That's what it looks like from that view. So it's not like it's communism hive mind versus Ayn Randian individual consumerism, right? No, both have a problem. Both of them have a problem.
Information into an impersonal, all-encompassing mind we think is serving us.
I think there's a disconnect between the characterizations of Protestants and Orthodox. I can't figure out why such polarization. Is there exclusivity doctrine? Yes, there's exclusivity doctrine in Orthodoxy. Protestants often have flawed methodology, right? Sola Scriptura, any of the solas. Protestantism is identified, even in the earliest form, as a rejection of some authority, even if for the right reasons, rejecting indulgences in the Catholic Church, which is the first Protestantism, by the way, the Catholic Church. Their ontology is literally, their ontic is non-existent. It's a negative position. It's an anti-position. Even in the word, right? Protest. Your essential status is in conflict with something. It doesn't have a positive position, and it certainly cannot track its identity and its ecclesiology and its authority back to Christ and the apostles. It actually has to rely on orthodoxy to then have any sort of meaningful engagement in the world. But orthodoxy doesn't require Protestantism at all. That's the difference.
But is also devouring us, eliminating jobs, eliminating artists, and possibly ruling over us by its purported service to humanity. Ultimately, in Pluribus, we see a grappling with how to deal with the World War II mythos, its worship of the outlier, the stranger, the rebel, while simultaneously creating global systems of uniformity, of control, and efficiency. Most of
in Warhammer 40,000, there's an alien called Gene Stealers that are the hive mind that takes over the government before getting eaten by space bugs they worship. That sounds awesome. Is that a video game or a movie? Which is it?
of us realize that these two extremes are...
I see the contentions. Look, in a really simple way of inviting you, Sparrow, have you been to Divine Liturgy? Because the first thing I'll say is, well, forget all the ecclesiology for a second, because that'll come. Like, if you go to Divine Liturgy, you can't avoid the ecclesiology. The practice, you're going to learn about the practice. But, like, from a very basic invitation, go into a Divine Liturgy at your Eastern Orthodox parish, not Oriental. Go into a liturgy, experience it, fly on the wall, observe it from the position of what was it like to be Christian? What is Christianity in like 4th century? What is it? Because you're not getting that from a Protestant view. You're certainly not getting that at your local Lakewood ministries, right? That's for sure. You know, I look out there and I see a lot of posts out there on Facebook, you know what I'm saying? Cindy and Nancy are on Facebook pretty much all day. In fact, all these chairs you see in this here congregation were found on Facebook Marketplace. But I've seen a post that says Orthodoxy or Catholicism has some sort of unique, exclusive hold on Christ's church. That sounds like something Satan would say. Hallelujah! The thing is, like, God gave us a chessboard. And we're all God's pawns. We're all God's pawns. There ain't no queen or bishop that's going to take that square from me. He equalized the squares on the chessboard, where the pawn can move in any direction it wants. The pawn can be in the position of the bishop if it wants. Right, Cindy? Nancy? Whatever your damn name is. So don't let them tell you that they have some sort of exclusive tie back to Christ. That's why Christ, when he started his church, when he resurrected and ascended, he gave us the Bible. He didn't give us a church or an institution. He gave us the Bible. And the Word became press. That's what it says. That's what it says! Did they do food analogies in the 4th century? They didn't congregate in the same room. They play basketball on Saturdays, not even a single galiggity For real. Say helium? I didn't catch the first time he actually says helium.
Are feeding each other and are not sustainable for human flourishing in the long term. There's a powerful image in this series. It is the image of one.
Is he drunk? He's drunk on the word, Jerome.
One of the outliers, Cusimayu, who is a Peruvian villager and immune to the virus. For her sake, the people in her village continue to simulate a form of community after they've been infected. Ultimately, in a desire to unite with her family and friends, Cusimayu decides to join the hive mind when they find a way for her to do so. As soon as she joins, the village disbands. The unity of the community disappears, and everybody goes on to become one of the interchangeable nodes in the hive mind.
There it is. There is immigration for you.
Cusimayu
Right there.
herself, her village, her family, and even the Peruvian culture which informed it all cease to have specific existence.
I want to add to this. The culture and the tradition he's pointing to ended when the last person who could maintain it with individuality, with their own energy, with their own unique personhood. This is a change of nature, too. Just think about this. What he just said, I don't know if you grasp that because you're still at the tail end of Pastor Mike's Pentecostal tail whip. Get a bit of whiplash from Pastor Mike, don't you? Notice how he says the culture disbands. They disintegrate. They disintegrate. Their culture would be otherwise around the last of their kind, which would be this young gal. And as soon as that she gets infected, it's gone. That's gone. It's now there's a greater thing than that, right? Whatever that is. And so it's like completely parallel. It's a good analogy. It's a good euphemism for how traditions, through like globalism, through utilitarianism, you suddenly disband the core of the people, which is an expression of all of their individuated wills acted on, right? Their personhood, their expression, their culture, their language, how they do things, how they don't do things. That's gone. That's gone. They've completely immersed themselves. They lost themselves in the whole solution. Their salt is dissolved in the water. It's gone. And now think about this other element to this show, which is there's a nature change. It goes from human beings with a nature, with a personhood. The personhood is the expression proper to the nature. Pluribus changes the nature. There is no more energy of the person. There's no personhood. They all know the same information, by the way, all of them. There's no unique quality of one person being a human, the what they are, the nature. There's no uniqueness to who they are and their knowledge after this infection.
They all become absorbed into the single will and experience of the hive mind. But you see, we can have sympathy for Cusimayu. She might have realized that the outliers cannot make all of those realities continue to exist either. These communities' contrived continuation had become an imitation, like some historic town taken over by tourism. The internal coherence of her village, its raison d'être, we could say, is no longer there. Even the person of Cusimayu cannot really fully continue to exist anymore.
Now, I want to make sure for my proddies in the chat understand the parallel, and I'm glad that Pageau actually mentioned Protestantism in this. The parallel between the individual, because it's like an inversion. It's like individualism that's maintained, and that's the highest priority, actually also dissolves the tradition. Both ways. It's a problem. In this case, they're presenting it like the last individual. The individual personhood is important in the collective, right? To represent the culture, how they do things, what they do, their knowledge, what they eat, how they know, everything about the culture rests in the personhood, the persons, right? But that's gone. But similarly, the introduction of individualization and nominalism, look at the Protestant world, how individualism being the highest order actually dissolves the tradition that comes before it as well.
Because people exist in relationships with others. Our identities are not fully autonomous billiard balls bumping into each other. Mm-hmm. Our individual identities are made by that very embedded quality, fitting into higher order relationships, being parents, sons and daughters, friends, citizens, and participants in our local, ethnic, national memories. This is, of course, shown strongly the attempt Carroll makes to being alone and self-determined, only to then rush into a
Nathaniel LHL. Blessed is a man who perseveres under trial, for once he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. James 1:12.
Thank you for that.
An erotic but ultimately sterile relationship with the hive mind. True identity is in fact fractal and recursive. It is subsidiarity which makes the world exist. Unity and difference appear at every level of being that can be experienced. These two aspects of reality, yin and yang, or heaven and earth, are necessary. And their interplay is like a dance that makes things exist. The unity of a person is different from the unity of a family, of a village, of a nation. And the unity of one and its difference from the others is the way that the higher unities are formed. It is by being somewhat opaque and different from my neighbor that can make us want to unite together to form a village or a couple. Transparency is not needed. In fact, full transparency leads to the elimination of community.
Vagine.
Like Pastor Mike, let's talk about St. James Martin Parish, with Father Harry Tick and Sister Agnes Touchy-Feely. At their clown mass every month, they also pass out a rubrics cube because there shouldn't be rubrics, and they should be mixed up. It's so powerful that at the elevation of communion the priest pushes a button and the congregation is all raised up because they are also communion. And they all sing "We Shall Overcome." Oh, it is so powerful.
Thank you, Vagine.
Absolute difference is also impossible, as there would be no reason to join with my neighbor to form a friendship or a village. We would have nothing in common. Rather, it is the interplay and dance between unity and difference which makes the world a world of purpose, meaning, and ultimately a world where love is possible. The problem is that it is also this
By the way, that's a really good point. Love in this pluribus is not possible. Honestly, they're all elect. Like it's like pluribus and Calvinism. Like they're all elect. They're all overwhelmed by the irresistible grace of an infection. There's no will anymore. You're just in complete alignment with the source. That's it, and its intent. That's it. You're a puppet at that point. Well, from that view, you can't express love because you can't sacrifice. Once that infection takes place in pluribus, not a single one of those people, when they're not people anymore, they're mechanisms. They can't offer sacrifice. They can't worship. They can't lower themselves. They can't fast. They just automatically do what they're doing. It's determinism. Pluribus and determinism. It's the same. But this is such a key point from Jonathan here because love, express love. Notice how they're like, oh, we're all unified in pluribus. We're all doing what's best for the whole. Isn't that so good and kumbaya and loving? Well, no, it's not. It's mechanical. Love is not just a mere mechanical phenomenon. It's an action of one's will and a forfeiting of one's preferences, if you will, a forfeiting of one's desires in the place of another, in pursuit of the wellness of another.
Interplay, which can lead to violence, to jealousy, war, and the atrocities that we all know from human history. One cannot eliminate how difference can lead to war and death.
Or in Talmudics, I think it's even earlier. I see what you're saying, Jason. I think it's even earlier than the Talmud. If you're going to take it that approach, it would be like the first who rejected Christ as the Messiah before the Talmud.
Death, or how unity can lead to tyranny or fragility when engaging in the dance of the one and the many. This is the risk of existence itself. But it is precisely the subtle dance, a gentle swaying between our tendency towards one and our tendency towards difference at every level of reality we exist in, as people, as couples, families, communities, nation, knowing that it is the formation of one which produces difference and the formation of difference which produces the one, each causing each other, and love is when they dance together. By showing us the extremes of their division, hopefully series like Pluribus remind us of how the one and the many should coexist, help us see the dangers of modern life and systems in the very way they accentuate that division to increasing peril of both the one and of the many.
Nice. Nicely done. I like that one. Short, sweet, 26 minutes. I tried to watch more of it. It just got so... It didn't do enough work, Pluribus,